Now, let me tell you something very, very alarming. So alarming that this piece of news is just as important as the good piece of news. And this comes also from the publications that have just appeared. So we'll go back to this chart here. And I told you, they vaccinated, they found that the IgG and IgA antibodies came immediately. Then they waited for another 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and then they gave the people a second shot. What did they see? They saw that the IgG and IgA levels immediately continued to rise, which is what a booster is supposed to do. However, now listen very carefully. Look at this. This is a vessel wall. This is your blood. It is now known that the genes that are injected into your body will enter the bloodstream, and it is absolutely certain now that these genes are going to enter the cells that line the vessel wall, because these are the cells that they contact. Now, what happens when the cells that line the vessel walls begin to produce these spikes? The spikes will then be produced by the cell and protrude from the cell surface into the bloodstream. All right? Now, these cells are going to be recognized by your lymphocytes that are born or given to you by the dear Lord to kill those cells that are making the virus or the virus protein, any virus protein. So, these lymphocytes are going to mount the attack on your vessel walls. This is the first way towards clot formation that, as we know, is happening all over the place, all over the world. Now, at the beginning, after the first vaccination, this danger is bad and is already terrible in itself if your killer lymphocytes start trying to kill you. But at that time, during the first 7 to 10 days, there are still no antibodies. There are not yet any antibodies. However, after 3 or 4 weeks, there are masses of antibodies all over the place in your blood. And if you dare to repeat this performance and start to put those spikes out into your blood, God help you. Because now, not only the killer lymphocytes are going to attack, antibodies and complement and leukocytes are also going to attack, thinking that your cells that are producing these spikes are bacteria. And they are going to try to eat your vessel wall cells. Now, this attack of the Air Force and the Navy on a single cell target has never been seen before. There is no situation, because either you're combating a virus or you're combating a bacteria. Mixed infections that go through the body are actually virtually unknown. So we have the unique situation that has been created by the vaccination that is, in a way, extremely interesting, because no one knows what the outcome will be. However, the vision is so horrible and so awful and terrifying that I myself don't really want to know the answer, and I don't want this answer to become known. I want you to decide to not take the second shot. Not only the second shot, but any shot thereafter is going to place your life in danger. That is what I'm convinced of now, especially because of the publications that have just appeared. So, I think that was the most important thing I have to say today, and I hope people will sit down, look at these papers, talk about them, and I hope that my colleagues, physicians and scientists, will do the same and get together to see whether this may have a grain of truth. Because if it does, the consequences are absolutely endless. Or the consequences are very simple. We just have to stop everything now.
So like I said, the first part of my study, I will be showing a series of clips. In the first clip, I'm going to show you evidence that this Mexine, so-called COVID-19 vaccine, how it affects your immune system. And as a result of that, you have persons now being affected by several autoimmune disorders.
The spike protein is probably...
And then from there, we're going to look at how it causes cervical cancers, heart issues, in particular myocarditis. We're going to look as well as how it damages your reproductive system, and get some stories from persons who have been affected by this Mexine. Sister Stanisia, you'll just bring up the first clip for me, please, and I will just say firstly what this clip shows us. So in this clip, the first clip, you have several doctors talking about the effect of the Mexine on your immune system. So you will hear at least one doctor who talks about how the Mexine, it suppresses your immune system, so that your immune system is not able to give the sort of protection that it will normally give when a foreign body or foreign agent comes into your body. So as a result of that, you're exposed to different viruses. And then we also will see in this clip other doctors who talk about how your immune system comes to attack itself, because the spike protein in your body, structurally, I'm trying my best to explain this, I'm no doctor, of course. So the spike protein that your body produces as a result of having this Mexine in you, structurally, it resembles cells that should be in your own body that are meant to offer protection. So then when your body realizes that it has been invaded by this foreign agent, it then mounts an attack against this foreign agent. But because this agent, it resembles the cells in your own body, you tend to have a situation where your immune system attacks the cells in your body that should be there. All right, so Sister Anisi, you may go ahead.
The spike protein is probably one of the most toxic proteins the human body has ever seen. In fact, there are over 2,000 published peer-reviewed papers describing different medical conditions associated with the vaccine. The other, which is very common in the vaccine injured, is what's called autoimmunity. So some of the domains in the spike protein look very much like the host's antigens. So it's called molecular mimicry. So what happens is when the host mounts an immune response against the spike, at the same time it causes antibodies directed against the host's own tissues. So the host is attacking itself.
The immune suppression, because of the spike, changes patterns of receptors on cells. So we have all these little patterns. If this is on, these T cells fight off viruses. But the shots we know are suppressing those little toll-like receptors. Now the immune system's like, well, I don't have anything to fight off these viruses. Same thing, there are toll-like receptors that are supposed to be upregulated to a certain amount to train other cells to say, okay, your job all day long, fight off cancer, fight off cancer. So I consider these like the Marines of our immune system. They're always circulating, looking for either that friend or foe. And they shake hands with every cell in your body saying, oh, you're a friend, you're okay, you're okay. Oh, you're a pathogen, I need to kill you. Boom. Oh, you're an early malignant cell, I need to kill you. Boom. So it'll kill that 1 or 2 cells or 100 cells or whatever, and it's doing its job. these shots, both the pseudouridine, the spike it's making, the patterns it's shifting, are causing those little marines and the dendritic cells and the macrophages to go back to the barracks, get drunk, and go to sleep. Now you don't have a defense system. Now this cancer cell can invade over the wall. Now this pathogen can invade over the wall, because your immune system has been suppressed to a degree that allows that to happen.
When I looked at the mRNA vaccine, I looked at the Pfizer one, the Moderna one, I was horrified. My contention is that there are multiple deliberate toxicities built into these materials, and I can justify that. I ask your audience to think, how is it that their body plays nice with itself, doesn't attack itself unless you're unfortunate and have an autoimmune disease? But normally your immune system, they're like military personnel. They stay in their barracks, they don't harm you. But when you're infected or you get a cancer maybe, they go to war. And you know the distinction, how it is that your body does that trick. It distinguishes self, all the things inside your body that are meant to be there. It doesn't attack anything foreign, anything non-self. It will attack. So when you take mRNA and get the human body to make a piece of a foreign organism, ladies and gentlemen, that's not my dog. When your body is instructed to make a piece of foreign, non-human protein, every cell that expresses that is now blaring a signal, I've been invaded. Your immune system goes to war and tries to kill it. Every single cell that this material goes into. These could never, ever be safe for a mass market use. If you just give it to mass populations, they will attack their own cells and kill them. That is the reason why you see dozens of different side effects, because it's one mechanism of toxicity.
The spike protein is proven in 3,400 peer-reviewed manuscripts to cause 4 major domains of disease. Fourth and last domain, immunologic abnormalities. Vaccine-induced thrombotic thrombocytopenia and multisystem inflammatory disorder are early acute syndromes, well described, published. They have their own acronyms, all agreed to by the regulatory agencies.
We've put shots into us that has made us have our own body attack ourselves. So every tissue of your body is available to be attacked by your own immune system, because this was designed to be an immune damaging agent.
So many doctors are refusing to acknowledge serious disease.
Okay, so the reason for showing you those different doctors was just to show you the reality, not just from one person, but from different doctors, that this Mexine, it actually causes your body to attack itself. It causes your immune system that should offer protection to your own body to not be able to do that. So what I will proceed to do now is to show you some examples of persons who have actually come down with autoimmune disorders as a result of taking this Mexine. You may go ahead, sir.
So many doctors are refusing to acknowledge serious disease and autoimmune disorders as being a direct result of the injections being referred to as COVID vaccines, most likely because of financial incentives. Brittany Galvin says that her Florida-based neurologist told her that her Guillain-Barré diagnosis was a direct result of the Moderna vaccine. And at the time that we broke her story, that was the first U.S. doctor to our knowledge to make the definite connection. Stevie Thrasher is a 29-year-old healthy Washington state native who received the Pfizer vaccine first dose on April 27th. She started experiencing severe menstrual bleeding just days later, combined with abnormal severe pain, severe muscle weakness, aches, and fatigue. After a fall in the shower on May 5th, Thrasher went to the hospital. Despite every muscle in her body failing at one time and severe dizziness and disorientation, after multiple tests, including blood work, MRI, etc., Thrasher left with no answers. On May 7th, Thrasher had a neurology appointment, at which time a specialized doctor specifically told her absolutely do not get the second dose of the Pfizer shot. Stevie's condition deteriorated rapidly, and her symptoms worsened over a short period of time, ultimately leading to 9 hospitalizations, 3 neurology appointments, and referrals to rheumatologists and immunologists. She's been subjected to CT scans, extensive blood work, all of which returned normal results, with the exception of a positive ANA blood test result indicating an autoimmune disorder.
With severe menstrual bleeding, menstrual pain, I thought I might be having a miscarriage on health, which is hard at this point because no one is acknowledging that these are.
Let's go back a bit. I just wanted you to see the report right from the doctor. So this CB, the one who you saw a while ago with all the tremors, she is the person about whom Stu Peters was talking a while ago. And this is a copy, a picture of the medical report from her doctor. And if you look where it says diagnosis, it says adverse reaction to Pfizer COVID vaccine with myalgias. So this is, proof from her doctor on a record that it was the Mexine that caused this autoimmune response in her. Okay, so the next couple of pictures that you would see in this clip, you would see the different headlines that talk about persons who have come down with autoimmune disorders and findings of autoimmune disorders post-vaccination. You may go ahead.
Because no one is acknowledging that these are.
Of showing this first step, like I said, is to show you that there is proof, there is empirical evidence that the vaccine causes autoimmune diseases. And I know that, there are still persons, they don't want to acknowledge that the COVID-19 vaccine, this Mexine, that it is making people terribly ill and causing people to die. But I am part of the proof. I myself, I have been diagnosed with a rare autoimmune disorder. It is so rare that when I did my research, I discovered that 2 in every 1 million persons are diagnosed with this in the US per year. 2 in 1 million. When my doctor first made the diagnosis, I remember her saying to me that you are the first person in this country, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, to have ever been diagnosed with this condition here, this autoimmune disorder. So that speaks for itself in terms of, how rare it is. So rare that there is no medication available in this country for this particular disorder, this particular autoimmune disease. It is life-threatening and it is rare. So I am part of the evidence. Yes, I know I would have gone against, conviction, against warning, and I put this poison into my body to keep my job, to continue paying for my house. And I have suffered the consequences. That is my reality. However, I have a different kind of reality as well. But as I advance in the study, I will share more of that reality with you.
Since the rollout of the vaccines, we have seen cardiac issues in any group of employees where these vaccines were mandated. So I first started tracking these injuries in doctors, for example, and Canadian doctors. And I had noticed that Canadian doctors were dying suddenly. They were dying sometimes within a week or two of their booster shot, and they were dying in their sleep. Or they were having cardiac arrests while they were exercising, while they were out for a jog, or while they were swimming. And so I noticed this pattern had occurred with doctors, but I started seeing it in other professions. I started seeing it with, police officers, firefighters, nurses, anywhere where there were vaccine mandates. You started seeing people in these professions, having very serious cardiac issues, most likely myocarditis. It is my belief that myocarditis is far more common than health authorities have admitted to. Now imagine 1 in 30 vaccinated individuals may have damage to their heart or myocarditis. They may be walking around with this heart inflammation that they don't know they have, and they are at risk for, collapsing, having a sudden cardiac arrest, and sometimes these are fatal.
The heart, as shown here, is loaded with inflammation. The heart is basically being destroyed with myocarditis. Destroyed. People have said, Dr. McCullough, what can bring down an athlete? These athletes that are just the picture of health, they've been screened for any cardiac condition. They are as healthy as you can be. This can. Swimmer Ty Wells in Arizona just died. Look at a picture of him, a strapping, wonderful body of a man who swims in the strongest athletes you can find. Dead. This spike protein is a killer, and it rips through the hearts of men and women. 2 boys, Connecticut, day 3 and 4 after the second dose of Pfizer, the parents find the boys at home, dead at home. The parents are horrified. They call for autopsies. Thankfully, they did. It goes to the Connecticut coroner. They call in University of Michigan, University of Minnesota. They examine the heart. Conclusion, the vaccines killed the boys.
Now the Tissier, oh, it's another stunning goal from Matthew Tissier.
It's been very concerning for me watching the sport that I loved and I played for 17 years. And it's been very concerning to me that in all that time that I played, I never once saw any footballer leave the pitch because of heart issues. If anybody can look at what's happening now in the world of sport and say it's normal for all of these people to be having heart issues in football matches, cricket matches, basketball matches, any sport you wish, the amount of people that are suffering is going through the roof.
Horrible sight. Attention urgently needed.
They are super fit individuals who would be highly unlikely to die of heart attack. They are in the prime of their lives. They're being superbly looked after and monitored. If there's any suggestion of heart disease, they wouldn't be allowed to play. I think the overwhelming probability is that these deaths were directly related to the known complications of vaccination and booster doses.
They are collapsing on a pitch in front of people. It's very difficult for them to ignore or deny these events. Because they're being reported almost every week. There is somebody collapsing.
It just beggars belief that there's so many incidents that have gone on around the world and nobody is willing to even call for an investigation for it. They must see. They can't just turn a blind eye to it. They must see what's going on. From where I can see it, they're willfully turning their back to it and saying, I'm not saying anything. They're keeping a storm about all this stuff. And for me, that is probably the biggest dereliction of duty I've ever seen in my life.
And for every one person who is saved from dying of COVID, the vaccine is killing 4 people from heart attacks. These are Pfizer's numbers, not mine.
I'm reading a comment here from Susanita that says, young, healthy people in the prime of their life. This is not normal. The Mexine rescue. That's true, sister. I mean, when you consider athletes, these are people who are considered to be the paragon of fitness. They are among the people who are most medically scrutinized. And look at what we see based on the video that was just shown there. 400 athletes dead in 6 months. There is nothing normal about that. And you heard the person who was speaking there. This is not something that you have ever seen, he has ever seen in the history of world sport. In cricket, in football, in tennis, etc. You just see an athlete, they're dropping dead. There's nothing normal about this. When you do the autopsies, you take them to the hospital, heart issues, myocarditis, right?